Do you ever have those super busy weeks where you need dinner done now, super quick each night? Well, let's take a look at this meal plan because this week we are going to start with one pork shoulder and we are going to transform it into three completely different dinners. So let's get started. Now, this style of meal plan is normally called progressive, meaning where we're going to start with one main piece and it's going to progress into different meals. Now, sometimes you take the entire main item and you completely change it and it rolls over. In this case, we're going to make one item in the crock pot and we're just going to divide it up between three meals. Same kind of style. Now, so that main piece of equipment you're going to need is a crock pot. And then each of the three nights, you may just do some items on the stovetop or the air fryer because we're avoiding our oven for another month because we don't want to heat it up any more than we have to. Now, the great news about this meal plan is we still managed to keep it under budget. We try to do three meals for under $30, and our total this week came out to $27.74 for a total of 16 items. Now, some of these items you may already have in your pantry, your fridge, or your freezer, so you could probably get your total a whole lot less than mine. The only thing we're assuming here is that you have some either your preferred cooking oil and your favorite seasonings. Everything else is accounted for. Now, there's two links down below. One goes to my Walmart grocery list where you can check and see all of the items on the list and what the prices would be in your area. Now, keep in mind that some items like barbecue sauce tend to be regional, so their prices get a little wonky if you're not in the same region that I picked the items. So if you see kind of a wackadoodle price, just substitute it for something cheaper that's available locally. The second link goes to my website where you can download a completely free PDF that has not only the grocery list, but all of the recipes. So let's get into what we are starting with for our progressive meal plan. Now, what I love about this meal plan is you could start this on like a Sunday or just on a day that you have some time because we're going to take one of those pork shoulders, about 4 to 5 pounds. And honestly, it doesn't matter if it's a bone-in or boneless. Honestly, the bone-in ones tend to be a little bit cheaper per pound. And then the boneless tends to be a little bit more expensive, but on average, you're looking at about $9 to $10. Now, I will say the determining factor for me is typically the size of the actual shoulder because I only have such a big crock pot. So if it won't fit in there, it's not going to work for me. Now, we're going to do just a very, very basic pulled pork recipe, and you're going to notice it's not a ton of flavor because we're going to add flavorings each night. So we're just going to go basic with some chicken broth, a medium onion, and a couple cloves of garlic that we smash up. Now, I put in here favorite seasonings because I'm going to have a tendency to add things like maybe some black pepper, some kosher salt, things like that. But you can add whatever favorite seasonings you like. Just make sure not to make the flavorings too strong because that may affect the three meals that we're going to make. Now, for the first meal that we're going to make, we're going to do some barbecue pulled pork sandwiches. Now, ideally, once you have pulled your pork roast out of the crock pot, you're going to shred it up and you can either just put it in like a big Ziploc bag, or you could go ahead and portion it into three different sections where each is going to be about 1 to 1.5 pounds. Now, so for this first one, we're going to take 1.25 pounds of shredded pork. We're just simply going to add some barbecue sauce to it. We can heat that up in a skillet. Now, I know that typically you may make the pork shoulder in the crock pot and then have this the same night, but I've given you directions as if you're starting with cold pork for each of the recipes because honestly, you can do them out of order. And we're just going to serve this with some fresh ears of corn. I prefer to do mine in the air fryer, but you could also just boil those. And then we're just going to do some baked beans as an easy side. This could easily be like a 15-minute, get home, throw all this stuff together, boom, dinner's done in 15 minutes. Now, the second dinner is going to be a Brunswick stew. Now, this has become one of my favorite stews, and it's also a great way to use shredded pork or even pork that's already put in with barbecue sauce. So we are literally just going to take a big saucepan and we're going to dump everything in. We're talking crushed tomatoes, chicken broth, mixed vegetables, some barbecue sauce, your favorite seasonings. You dump everything together, you let it simmer for about 15-20 minutes, and then boom, your soup is done. Now, if we have any leftover hamburger buns from the night before with our sandwiches, you could easily make some garlic bread or some butter bread to serve with the Brunswick stew. But I'm telling you, this has become one of my, I don't know, I don't normally eat a lot of stew during summertime, but this one screams summertime to me. Now, our last dinner is going to be pulled pork tacos. This is going to be super simple. Well, we're going to take that shredded pork. We're going to add some taco seasoning. You can add a little bit of chicken broth or water just to get everything seasoned up. And then we're going to serve it in tortillas. Now, because the emphasis here is to do super, super quick, we're going to do a pack of Mexican rice mix because they typically take about 7 minutes to make. And then we're just going to serve it with some shredded lettuce, tomato, and avocado. Of course, if you don't like tomatoes or avocado, you could easily swap those out for things that you do like. Now, I do want to mention at this point that technically the Brunswick stew and the pulled pork both require barbecue sauce. So in reality, you could take all of your shredded pork fresh from the crock pot. You could save about a third of it for pulled pork tacos and go ahead and add barbecue sauce to 2/3 of the shredded pork. And then that way you just have as many sandwiches you want, and whatever's left over, throw it into the Brunswick stew. There's lots of different ways you can do this. It all just depends on how you want to make this. As another option, you could, in your crock pot, make a huge batch of shredded pork, separate everything out into 3 Ziploc bags, and then freeze them. Then on those 3 nights, you could just pull the shredded pork out of the freezer and then boom, make these 3 dinners. So lots of options here. So I hope that this progressive meal using a pork shoulder has really kind of opened your eyes of different ways that you can either make a whole week's worth of meals, or you could make 3 freezer meals for later. Now, don't forget to stop by my website and get the 1-page sheeter. Now, this sheet has the grocery list, the base recipe for the pulled pork, and then the 3 nights dinners, all on one sheet, all in black and white. So please let me know down below if you have done anything similar to this as far as progressive meals. And also let me know if you have any ideas for progressive meals that we could do in the future. So if there's an item that you like to turn into multiple things, let me know down in the comments below.